What's up, everybody? Mark with Derp's A Lot Academy here, and today we are doing a Patreon pick. That's right. Each month, our patrons get to pick two. They get to nominate and vote on two songs for me to react to. Basically, I take the most voted on and the second most voted on, and I react to them, regardless of what they are. And I'm actually excited about this pick because they picked one of my favorite singers of all time, Devin Townsend. The song is Genesis, and we're going with this cool live version because there's a lot to talk about, and I like to do live versions as often as I can. Now, a couple things before we get into it. Along with our Patreon picks, we have essentially a raffle. Our patrons who attend events during the month, we have karaoke night, or karaoke afternoons, I guess we should say, listening parties every Friday night. Our patrons who attend those events and engage a lot in those conversations basically get entered into a raffle, and each month they win an evaluation with me, where I check out their voice, give them some pointers, set them in a good direction. And the winner is actually none other than our very own Bluey. Yes, he was actually a student of mine a while back, about a year ago, and he's going to be re-entering the classroom here. So I'm pretty excited about that. He was doing some really cool stuff, working on an entombment of a machine cover. I don't know. We'll see where that is. We'll see maybe if that's what we're going to work on. But if you're new to the channel, what we do here is we take the reaction format, we break it down, we try to make it as educational as possible, we try to have a good time, and what I do is I talk mostly about the vocals, right? Because I myself am a metal vocalist in 3 bands, although the main one right now is Kardashev. We have an album coming out June 10th through Metal Blade Records. Keep an eye out. We've got some music on the Metal Blade channel as well. And I'm also a vocal coach. I specialize really pretty heavily in the deep, dark, disgusting, gurgly types of sounds. You know what I mean? So as much as I love Devin Townsend, he is a bit outside of my wheelhouse, which is always fun because then I get to do these reaction videos partially as an observer as well. But we're going to talk about his voice. We're going to talk about his screaming, his belting. We're going to have a good time. So I think that's enough. I think that's enough for me. Check us out on Patreon if you love the content. Like, share, and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. And beyond that, let's do Devin Townsend, Genesis. Here we go.
Receive this light. Receive this light.
All right. If you're saying in your mind you're better off dead, well, before the madness comes to claim your name.
It's in the 40 seconds. I know it's in the 40 seconds. I know that's really early, but I want to let y'all, for anybody who's new to Devin Townsend's voice, I want to give you a couple things to think about while we listen to this. Also, this isn't a first-time reaction. Deal with it, I guess. But anyways, so one thing I love about Devin is his ability to change the weight and texture of his voice very, very, very easily. When you listen to a lot of singers, even very, very famous and popular singers, they kind of have one space where they sit. And that's not a bad thing, right? They have, they're either constantly belting or they're constantly light and breathy. Devin Townsend, he does a lot of different things, and often in a short space, without it seeming heavy-handed, without it seeming like, over the top. He starts off with this very light, hey, receive this light, whatever the lyrics are, and then he starts to lean into the weight of his voice, and we even get some grit. Also, he plays with vowels in such a fun way. Like when he says, I think the lyrics are, if you're thinking in your mind, right? And he almost sounds like he's talking it, and he gets a little hyper nasal there, and it sounds a little bit like taunting in a way. Maybe that's just me. And then when he says name, we'll go back and listen to name. He kind of chews on that vowel, name. That sound is called a diphthong, when basically 2 different vowels create one syllable, right? And he doesn't just sing the word name, he sort of chews on it as it comes out, and it gives the song a bit of like a bit of playfulness, I guess. Let's check that out, and then we'll let the song run a little bit longer.
A million years will go by.
So this is a good place for us to talk about his voice as well. So one thing I really like about his voice as well, and one thing he's very, very, very good at, is vowel placement, right? He places his voice in such a way that he's able to hit a lot of these higher notes and able to hit these powerful tones without a lot of work, right? So oftentimes when we're thinking about hitting higher notes or maybe even more projected notes, like he hit on Beautiful, I think that was either an F4 or an F sharp 4. One of the two. Just watch. It's totally not. But one thing he does is he shapes his vocal tract in such a way that the note is not going to be working against him. And like we can kind of think about that a little bit. Like if you're at home and you say the vowel ah, right? Ah, right? Ah. Now try to say ah, but kind of close your mouth and maybe make it a little wide on the sides. So you're trying to say, that sounds very closed, very clamped, very muffled. And so a lot of times when singers are having difficulty hitting these more projected, or hitting these higher notes or reaching these more projected spaces, a lot of it is because of the shape of the mouth and also the way that they're interacting with their breath support, right? They're squeezing the note out essentially. A really cool example of one thing you can do is you can crescendo, and we actually kind of hear him sort of play with that concept. I don't remember the lyrics, but I want to go back and show you. It's like, what could I say? What should I say? And then he leans into it. And, of course, he's interrupting the process with phrases and things like that, but he's just leaning on that support, right? And that's a really cool exercise that we can do at home. So I like to use an A, or an ah. Ah is pretty good too. But essentially we start with an A at sort of our speaking volume, right? He, A, right there. Maybe even a little lower. A. And then you can either raise the pitch or you can stay on the same pitch. Kind of up to you, right? Getting a lot of control that way. And I want to go back and I want to hear this again because I want you to hear him lean on his voice in a similar fashion. Of course, he sounds ridiculously amazing when he does it. This looks good. Yeah.
What should I say? Took all of my words and my fantasy worlds, and at the heart of it all there was howling deep down maker. Is there right? Well, they're alive. It's beautiful.
I want you to look at the way he's standing. I want you to look at his posture, and I want you to look at the shape of his mouth while he's saying beautiful, right? If I speak normally and I say beautiful, my mouth is like this. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I don't want to sing it like that. That ain't going to work, right? I'm going to try to get this big, powerful sound out of this tiny little space, and it's going to create a lot of pressure and a lot of basically just dysfunction, right? So let's check this out. Boom, right there. But look at that. He's got a very wide open space. Ha, 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 right? Now, the cool thing about him is that, and one thing I like about his voice is he really maximizes the use of his vowels. His vowels are delicious. I don't know if that sounds weird, but I'm saying it anyway. He is always, and when you watch him in live performances, maybe we'll be able to see a good amount of it here. He is always moving to such optimal vowel spaces, and sometimes vowel spaces that traditionally might be considered a little weird because he'll add some hypernasality. He'll add a little bit of like whine to his voice, but it always works because he's always telling these crazy cool stories. And that crescendo, right? That crescendo can help you hit these notes, and take it slow, right? Don't just be like, oh, I'm going to hit a C5 today, right? That's going to be pretty difficult unless you've trained into it. But finding kind of like the top of your range, a little bit of a crescendo can help you a long way. And it's best if before you do that to spend some time working on breath support, understanding how the mechanism works, right? How to take the air in low, holding the ribs out, squeezing the abdominal muscles, and feeling yourself engage your core with your neck relaxed. Goes a long way. Anyways, let's keep going. Devin has some of my favorite grit ever, right? Like some of my absolute favorite grit in the entire world. And also some of my favorite fry screams in the entire world. They sound so relaxed while simultaneously powerful. And that is nuts. That is nuts, right? I want to let you know that you're not going to get that fry scream short and easy, right? That's something that you have to really build over time. That's something that you really need to build over time, because when we are screaming in this way, our vocal folds are involved in the process, and all the muscles that surround the vocal folds and that control the way that they adduct and that they lengthen and that they shorten, those muscles need to be strong and be able to handle that work. And you don't want to put a whole lot of pressure underneath it. You don't want to put a whole lot of pressure underneath it to force the sound out, right? Now, sometimes this is true. Sometimes people are just really good at making the tone, right? They can just make the fry tone pretty easily. I know a good handful of people, my business partner, he can actually just make a fry tone pretty easily. But, you know, when we do that and we're like, oh, I can make this tone really easily, we also want to make sure that we're thinking about endurance, screaming over time, how our voice feels after doing it for a little while. So if you can make the tone, hell yeah. You're awesome. You're off to a really good start, but you'll want to take it slow, right? Now, as far as like the gritty singing aspect is concerned, one of my favorite ways I don't use a whole lot of grit in my own music. It's not a sound that I personally make a whole lot because I have no need for it really. But one of my favorite ways to get people into just understanding the concept of using grit in their voice in the same time, if we have time, is to do both separately, right? We learn whichever type of grit over here, independent of the voice, and then we sort of bring them together. If time is short, you can literally just do kind of like a relaxed piratey hey, right? It's very simple. So you're here, hey, hey, and it's not going to sound beautiful. You're not going to sound, you know, studio ready with this sound, but it can get you comfortable with the idea of two sounds existing at the same time, but separated from each other, right? So if I'm here, hey, 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 hi, hey, my, say, hey, right? Essentially what I did is I just took like a pirate voice, hey, 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 through a normal voice, threw a little grit on there, hey, hey, and I didn't move until the grit felt nice and high. Now, how did I make the grit feel nice and high? Actually, I'm gonna show you, and I want to see if you can hear it. You probably can. This isn't like anything crazy tricky, right? So if I'm here, hey, 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 see how my voice is kind of on the warmer side? It's still existing in the front. I'm placing my voice in the mask, but it's a little warmer. Hey, 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 hey. Do you hear all that low rattle? Right? We're chilling in the false chord realm. I don't really want that though, because as I project, I don't really want the soft tissues around the actual glottis to be vibrating very hard. I want to get a lot of this from like my soft palate, from the postpharyngeal wall, from the palatopharyngeal folds, this space in the back, right? So what I'm going to do is I said I'm not going to tell you. Let's see if you can hear it, right? Hey, 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 may, hey. I added a little bit of nasality. Hey, I turned into hey, may, hey. And then the distortion followed suit, right? I took my resonance, I took my voice, and I made it, I added some hypernasality. I brought it to the front. Very important. I did that with my tongue, not with squeezing the vocal folds, right? If squeezing the vocal folds is really something you're ever doing, you pretty much don't need to, right? I can make my voice really nasally. You can kind of see it there. Mostly with my tongue. My larynx does raise slightly, but I don't feel the vocal folds squeezing. And then when that happens, I'm able to create distortion high up with a healthy voice. And it's not very hard. It's not very difficult. It takes time though. Anyways, I got off on a little bit of a tangent. And if you want to get into gritty singing, that is a place that is generally okay to start. Just take it slow and listen. You're not going to sound like Devin Townsend soon. And I'm not going to sound like Devin Townsend soon. So let's keep going and let's hear him do it better. So I just have to give props to whoever was in charge of the sound at this show. I don't know anything about like mixing, let alone live mixing, but the live mix here is nuts. Nuts. I don't know if anything's been done to make it sound a little bit better on the video, right? I have no idea, but like, can you imagine playing with that quality of a live mix? Like, it's insane. It's insane. I remember the first time I showed Devin Townsend to my parents, they were not a fan. They grew into it over time, but my mom was like, it just sounds like this big wall of sound, like this wave of sound. And I was like, that's yeah, like that's exactly the point, right? And nobody does the wall of sound like Devin and the people he works with. Like it's lovely. I don't really have a whole lot to go into there because I don't do a lot of mixing and mastering, or really any mixing and mastering. But I just wanted to say, like, yo, whoever was in charge of sound at this show, you killed it. You killed it. I don't know how you did it, but I know it makes my ears make the happy. It gives my ears the happy feeling. So let's go back a little bit.
Are there kittens up there? I love them, man. Conditional sons of bitches.
Yep. Oh.
With this island of the mind, know this here island is home. You gotta get on your feet.
That's my favorite part of the song. Everyone be quiet. Everyone be quiet.
With this island of the mind, know this here island is home.
Yeah, listen to the yeah, that's my favorite part of the song. No questions asked. I love how theatrical he is with his voice. I love how over the top he is with his voice without it being, it's over the top without being over the top. And he shifts from these big, huge, like soft palate, way up high to these like the way he, the way he pronounces the word mind, to like the island, right, like a little bit more snarl on there, a little bit more frontal, like, I don't want to say twanginess, but that's the only word that's coming to mind. But he's moving around his voice very, very, very dexterously, and he's doing it so relaxed. One way that you can do this if you are at home and you want to just get comfortable with adding dynamics to your voice is just be super goofy, right? Be super, super, super goofy. So I'm going to be super goofy. I'm going to sound stupid for all of you so you can feel comfortable sounding stupid by yourself. But like, if I was at home and I was like, hey, hi, yo, Magoo, you've done it again, right? Yeah, right? Yeah, it sounds really dumb, but a lot of learning to sing and scream does sound really dumb, right? And it's about familiarizing yourself with your voice in a way where you don't have a lot of hard expectations, right? Because then when you get more comfortable, you can learn where your voice is comfortable. You can learn where your voice sits, and then you can kind of create, I don't want to say your own sound, but you can kind of create a voice that you're comfortable with, right? There's no way that he's doing all this stuff without being comfortable with his voice, right? So I'm not going to try to sing that section. Why would I even bother? But when in Kardashev's music, which is obviously built around my voice versus replicating this, I found how to make my voice really emotional, and I found how to make my voice really impactful by doing exactly that, walking up and down the hall and, utilizing what we know about breath support and resonance and phonation and muscle, relaxing the muscles, and just making all these silly projected noises. And then I found a spot where I was comfortable. So do that. Long story short, do that. Here we go.
This is the first of the shitty discos. Come on. But without yourself, what'll become of you? Take your lead now, Take your lead now, Please don't take me from my.
Yo, that's a short section. We got to hear that again. So, the woman singing, Alex, my business partner, reminded me of her name. Shay Amy Dorval, I think is her name. And her voice is amazing, as you can hear. And she and Devin, their voices are just like built for each other. Kind of gave me like there's a group called the Civil Wars. Joy Williams and I can't remember the guy's name. But they have a lot of songs where their voices interact in this way. Super lovely. Let's listen to that one more time.
Please don't take me from my.
I love that from my, the way that she like kind of added syllables. Awesome. Oh, I wonder who got that pick. Hopefully it was someone who plays guitar. I don't know. Anyway, that was Genesis live, Devin Townsend. I sure wish I was like a quarter of the vocalist he is. He is phenomenal. He is definitely in my top 10 vocalists of all time. But anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, Devin Townsend's a little bit outside of my wheelhouse, so I got to be a little bit more of an observer and a listener versus like, someone dissecting and explaining every tiny little nuance. But if you enjoyed that content, Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot. Let me know in the comments below. We do, again, have a Patreon. We have events multiple times a month. A lot of people on there talking at all times. People from all around the globe. That big spherical object that we all live on. That's about it. That's all I have to say. Other than that, thank you for your time. Many thanks. Much love. I'm out.